There we go. I believe we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first show of the new year.
Indeed. So what do you think? How many people are going to have today, Brian?
Oh, we hit 5 last time. We got 2 right now, either of which are me.
Who else is there? Anybody? No? All right. Well, so let's dive right in.
Sure.
2021. What do you think? How'd it go?
Could have been worse. Could have been better.
I will look back at 2021 as the year of the you gotta patch it now exploits.
Yeah. Dire emergency. Level 10s.
Right.
Which maybe we need one of those every once in a while just to get everybody to go in and patch their stuff. Because a lot of places get too complacent.
Right. Wendy wants to see me.
Nope.
I could fix that, Wendy. I would just have to go get something to use as a background.
Oh yeah, because this probably doesn't
It green screens, but it doesn't
poorly.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mess.
I have a
Well,
green screen if you need to borrow
we'll
one.
get there. I just need to have this place a little cleaner.
Yeah.
Right now, if I will give you all a glimpse into the mess that is my working space. Don't be horrified.
Yeah. Seen
That's not
worse.
too bad.
No, not really.
Yeah. Got some post Christmas stuff here, and I got my shelves of horror over here. So on the plus side,
Yeah. Let's go
I have.
wide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're better this way.
Yeah, let's stay narrow, Brian. So that is indeed why I'm not live on camera. Perhaps as we get later, I'll fix that. But for now, let's stick with the no camera for you.
Nah, that's fine.
What I really need to do is stand up the things I was using for backdrops before there was good blurring in Google Meet.
Yeah, it seems to do a all right job.
Yeah, it does. I have a bunch of theater scenery from ghosts of shows past that I could put up in the background, which was hugely popular when I was doing like meetings. Like I've got an on-air sign from Hairspray. I've got I've got some stuff from Putnam County Spelling Bee. I actually have a gigantic drop hanging in the room that covers basically the entire room. But yeah, it's a lot. I'll make that happen, Shauna.
Yeah. Hi, Shauna. Hi, Wendy.
Let's see here. No, I got to figure out how to make comments up here. Let's see if I can do that. I don't think I have comment control. Oh well.
Perhaps not. You might have to. Hello, Richard. You may have to just start the stream and you can just pause the video, but at least then you'll see the live comments.
No, I mean I'm seeing the live comments. I was going to try to make one appear on screen.
But I mean, I can.
That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
Okay. Not sure if there's a way for me to give you that control.
Yeah, we'll figure that out later.
Yeah.
Not important for tonight. So yeah, back to the topic at hand. 2021. What was your least favorite exploit Uh,
Log4j, the
okay,
freshest and the least favorite. It's the one that impacted everything I have to deal with the most.
sure.
So,
Um,
just because there's so many instances of products using out of date Java libraries.
true. Um, yeah, I mean, the House of Java, uh, to borrow a phrase from some developers I worked with, oh, 15, 20 years ago, the House of Java is always ready to collapse. Um, but yeah, uh, for me, I think it's Print Nightmare, um, just because of the just the horrible show that it was getting Microsoft to provide a decent patch for something that should have been fixed years ago,
Yes.
um, and then to have it become like a newly exploitable thing was just like, come on, guys, don't you claim to be security first? Um,
Have they ever claimed to be security first?
uh, it- Off and on for the last 20 years. Um, not that
Well,
that's
that was a
true,
lie.
right? Um, but it was just frustrating. The gymnastics you had to go through, like, um, people really get used to being able to print when they want to, and when you take that away from them, they get annoyed. Um,
Hmm.
I didn't have to do a lot of work on the front line of it, but it had a huge impact and sucked a lot of time. You know, um, knock on wood, yeah, it could have been worse. Like we weren't fighting malware, which before Print Nightmare was the soup du jour.
Yeah. Crypto locker of various flavors.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with some malware back in early or ransomware early days of uh, the ransomware craze, like I guess 8, 9 years ago, and we had customers call us and like, "Hey, can you help us?" And we're like, "Nope, we can we can help you pay the ransom." Um,
Yeah. Once it's locked up, there's not a whole lot you can do if you don't have good backups. If you have good backups, even if it hurts, roll back. That's about all you can do.
exactly, exactly. Um, and I knew people that paid, and I knew people that didn't, and highly individual, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it depends on what data they got and what they didn't, and yeah, and also definitely the state of backups.
Right, right. Um, which it was a great lesson in have good backups. It wasn't a great lesson in fighting malware infections because they just lay low, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they just wait, and once they've got your data, they trigger the exploit. Early
Yeah.
days, it was all automated, but now, like, they'll sit on your systems for weeks, months. Um, I suspect that eventually we'll see one that comes out that's they've been sitting on the system for years.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my
Yeah.
first prediction for 2022. We will see the first year-long squat in malware.
Who knows? Maybe it's already out there. Just hasn't been triggered yet.
Exactly. I suspect that there's somebody that like got in, with something like a SolarWinds or any of those other handy dandy toolings that have been out there,
Yeah.
um, and managed to stay hidden.
Oh, yep. Especially if they're state actors and they have that kind of money where they can get all the really good, juicy exploits, and they don't want to lock your stuff up. They want your data. They don't want
Sure,
to inconvenience you, so they'll just sit in the background and just siphon off what looks interesting.
right. And for the ransomware guys, like, um, they've spent the money already, right? Like, as long as they can keep themselves operating, if what it takes to juice you for the most money is to not trigger their exploit for months or a year, they'll do it.
Hmm.
They turns out those guys are really good at math. Yeah,
Well, it's a profit.
it is. It is. Uh, so what else was of note for you for 2021?
I think Shauna had a question.
Oh,
I think she asked when we were talking about Log4j.
ah, you wanted to
So
handle that one?
I can talk a little bit about it.
Sure.
The Log4j. So there's a library for Java that basically handles logging. Uh, there are a ton of products that use it. Like, I don't even know if I could guess that percentage of products sitting out there that you. I know there's a lot,
It's in if you're using
thousands.
Java, it's incredibly common to use that
Well,
library.
yeah, because it's there and it's usually enabled by default. So basically, that library would open a socket and just sit there and wait. If you send a specially crafted string to it, was it port 10,000? If I
Something
remember right.
ridiculous.
But yeah, it just kind of sits there and you send a specially crafted string and you can get it to pull malware for someone. But basically, it's a way to get in to get a system to load some of your code so then you can backdoor their systems. So just because there was such a wide base of that being installed, it was and how easy it was to exploit, uh it was pretty major. I mean, heck, Minecraft,
Yep.
you could send a specially crafted string in the chat and take over somebody's PC.
Yep.
That's how ridiculous it was.
Well, and for for those that don't know or don't realize, like Java is basically ubiquitous in computing because it is a useful language. It's nimble and it's been useful for years. So it's got a huge level of adoption. Even programmers that don't think of themselves as Java programmers frequently are using things that have a little bit of Java in them, right? Um, like it's baked into the .NET stack to some extent now. Like you can use Java functionality in .NET programming pretty easily. Um, Now, interesting enough, the Microsoft ports of Java apparently were largely free of the problem for some reason. Um, Probably because they eviscerated some functionality or something like that.
Yeah.
But they, um, it
It
was
was
one of the
accidental. They probably expected it to work, but
right, right,
they're
um,
search and replace on the code to skip something.
right. Um, but yeah, like security appliances and um, just a ton of stuff that you really, really want to depend on for security was affected by the Log4j exploit.
Yeah, a lot of appliancey type things. So SANs and DVRs and heck, the UCS management console.
Well, and
Oh god, there's a lot.
software-based firewalls,
Yep.
um, WAF products, um, you know, you name it, it it was impacted. Like, and yeah, came out late in the year. Um, Not like as I heard a little bit of something, and this may just be rumor and conjecture, but I heard a little bit of something that typically on an exploit like this, um, there would be some kind of um, period where the researchers would uh, give the security industry a chance to understand it before they publish the
Announce it.
CVE, right?
Yeah, before it went public. Yep.
And
That's how
and that
like
didn't
Palo had their stuff patched before there was even before the CVE was released. They already had everything patched.
right. But as I understand it, that period was quite short in this case. Um, like maybe a couple of days,
Okay.
which is not a lot of time to take action on something like that.
Well, and it may be enough time for a not manufacturer, but a vendor to fix their equipment, but definitely not enough time for the customers to go through and patch all their stuff, get everything
Right.
updated. There's no way. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, I think I mean, the fastest I've ever applied a patch to something is same day. Um, but typically you're if you're working proper change windows and evaluating patches and sometimes waiting on manufacturers, um, you know, you're talking 2 days, 3 days for something super critical.
Yeah.
Um, and you hope for the best. I'm sure there are people that got exploited in the window between the CVE going public and um, and when they were able to apply a patch.
Oh,
Just because,
guaranteed.
you know, I mean, that's what 0 day is all about, right?
Yeah.
Um, the the amount of traction that that particular exploit got from the malicious actor community was pretty impressive. Like they had tooling kits out within a week, like
Yep.
for sale, so you didn't have to have any skills. You could just buy
Yeah.
it. Um,
The morning of the CVE, I was seeing hits and firewall logs of it being blocked.
it's crazy.
So yeah,
So yeah, Log4j, um,
not fun.
not fun. I mean, I guess the moral of the story there is like, doesn't you can act as intelligently and as security minded as you want, right? Like you can be the perfect security guy, and short of it's unplugged and turned off, um, you you can be facing a 0 day with like a day's worth of notice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess to me what this speaks to is no matter what else you do, you should with this being the modern era and the security landscape the way it is and the threat landscape the way it is, if you do nothing else, you should start to develop a discipline and a practice around getting security patches out basically instantaneously.
Well, there's that, and between this and all the ransomware stuff that, well, I mean, that's been happening for years, but everybody should be thinking long and hard about zero trust, least permissions, because
Yes.
so even if, hey, every server in your infrastructure, every server in your environment is vulnerable to this, why should anybody, even internal users, should never be able to hit some rando high port that isn't explicitly allowed? This should never even be a thing that is exploitable. Who would open these ports up to the internet? That is ridiculous. But people that do.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, even if you don't go zero trust, right? Like start to think about how do I reduce default trust? Is your internal network wide open? If one
Shouldn't be.
system gets exploited, are the rest of your systems vulnerable? Because if they are, like that's a problem you can solve. And honestly, you can start to solve it in small ways tomorrow. You can go ahead and turn off the vast majority of high level ports. Um, and the testing's going to be easy. Did it break?
Scream test.
And honestly, if you point out the risks of some of this stuff to really any level of business management, I think you know, they may not want you to test like 9 a.m., but they're probably going to be on board with you like 7 o'clock tonight. Oh, okay. Um, Now, granted, I've seen a lot of companies do things that blow my mind. Um, like given the risk, given the the impact, and given the possible reward, still taking a stance that is really, really not security forward. Kind of scary, and it's not it's not just one or two companies. It's a huge number of companies out there that um, just at the end of the day, they they're not a security first organization. And honestly, there are very few truly security first organizations. It's hard to be profitable if your first and most important thing is security. It's possible.
It's really easy to not be profitable if you're not, however.
Exactly. I mean,
So
it's that
it's
balance,
priorities. Yeah,
right? If you have deprioritized security over everything else, you're probably going to have problems. It's not, you know what? It's not even a probably. You will have problems. It's a matter of when.
absolutely.
So, um, so yeah, 2021,
Hmm.
the year of exploits. Um, I was looking at some
Well,
stats. More CVs uh, published in 2021 than 2020, and 2020 was already a record year. Um, but more importantly, um, a ton of the 2020 CVs were still pretty active in the wild,
yeah.
um, and some of them unpatched. Uh, and then you add on the 2021 uh, stuff, and it in some ways it's starting to look like it is that the actual tidal wave that's going to sink the ship.
Maybe when people are patching their stuff, I mean, and attackers get more and more sophisticated, systems get more and more complex. This is only become going to become more and more of a problem, and especially without patching. Now, every year that goes by, you have that year's new stuff and everything that came before it that people just didn't see the value in patching, especially if it's something little. You
Yeah,
know what? Maybe there's something that comes along that makes that little thing real valuable as an attack vector.
I,
Happens.
I'm sure there was a person at Target that said it's just our HVAC system.
Yep.
Um,
Why would you have any of that stuff ever have access to anything? And that's the most basic network segmentation. I mean, that's not even zero trust. That's just like common sense. Why should that ever need to talk to anything? Maybe there's some systems that might need to talk to them, but even that should be few and far between. You stick that in the most DMZs of DMZs, only let it talk to things that you've explicitly allowed. Why is this difficult? Why are we still going through this? And also, why are many of those systems still running like Windows XP, Windows 2000? You see it all the time. HVAC, security systems. Why?
yep.
Why do people keep giving these vendors money if they can't update their systems?
I mean, I will I will be the advocate for some of those things, right? Like, or soften that blow a little bit. It's it's actually sometimes hard to find a company in specific industries that is playing well because nobody else is doing it, right? Like, what's the incentive for
Well,
Train to put out a product that is safer and put the money into developing it when none of their competitors are, right? Like,
oh,
why are they going to do it?
absolutely.
Um, Now, I will say that if you start to hold their toes to the fire, um, and and there's creative ways to do it, I think, right? Like, okay, Train, you want me to buy your product? Is it secure? Like, does it meet modern security standards? No? Fine. I'll buy your product, but I require you to insure it.
Yeah.
You know, and you, it's not an unreasonable request, right? Um,
Oh, hold on.
we got we got new people.
We have somebody that would like to join the live stream.
Excellent. I'm excited. Drum roll. While Brian works on that. For those of you watching, story time. What's the worst outage you have been a part of?
Oh, he wants to join at some point in the future. He is unable to join at this moment due to the sustaining of marital bliss.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But at some point in the future.
Absolutely. Brian and I both have very patient, loving, and supportive wives.
Yes.
And it's not even the same woman. So
I got a little bit of echo.
do you?
I think so. Maybe it's just on my side. Do you hear that?
I mean, if you get far enough away, yeah. But
yeah, there's no sound deadening in this room, so that's.
I would say there's no sound deadening in the room that I'm in, but you know, there's so many weird angles because of all the stuff I have in here.
Yep. Whereas I have a couple of bare walls around me
You
where
really
it's
do.
real easy to bounce. But if I can stay right up on the mic, we're fine.
Right. I mean, let me take you back to live picture here. I'm right up on the mic.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't want to get too close, otherwise I'm going to get super loud.
Yeah. It should. Does your mixer have compression?
Yeah, it's got the capability. I don't have anything turned on.
Okay. I always add just a smidge.
No, it's a wise choice. I mean, for those of you that have met me in person, you'll know that compression is probably something I will never need. Unless I cough. And then like, sorry about your eardrums. So anyway, worst outage you have been a part of. I'm thinking back over 25 years. I can recall an outage that I made worse. I was helping repair some stuff from a fire, and I accidentally deleted some data. That was an expensive day. Good lesson to learn early in your career, though.
Yeah.
In recent memory, I think the worst outage, actually probably power related.
Okay. Okay.
I happened to be in on I think it was a Memorial Day, for a company that I'd been working for like 5 months. And I was just like, I think I was like sending some emails and finishing up some documents or something like that. And all of a sudden the power goes out. And I'm like, what the heck? So I went and looked at the UPS. I'm like, oh, that's draining really fast. So I called my boss. I'm like, so I'm here and the power went out. Yeah, we were down for a while. Because our UPS was not in shape.
Gotta maintain those UPSs and test
You do.
them.
You do.
And know what your runtime's at. And what if this is going to be an outage that's going to be pressing into that potentially? What do I need to shut down to make that go as long as it can?
Right. I mean, now, you know, the company I'm at now has a generator, and we know our UPS run times, and we do at least a large scale yearly test. And so we're confident in our power systems that way. And actually, I get to replace batteries soon because it's time.
Yeah, you got to do that.
All right. We got another outage.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Ooh. Truck driver took out some fiber between two of our sites going through an underpass with no redundancy. There you go.
Uh,
That connectivity can
yep.
be.
Why is that not failing over to VPNs or something, or a second circuit?
Yeah.
I mean, because you can't predict a guy in a backhoe pulling up fiber
I mean,
or somebody hitting an underpass.
the holy grail
Uh,
of connectivity is you have two demarcs on different ends of your building that enter your property from different directions and come from disparate providers.
Yep.
Like you become the continental divide effectively. Hey there, Mr. Rick, the old guy.
A wild Richard appears.
Yeah. Is my audio working?
It
It
is.
is.
I hear you
Excellent.
great. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Thanks for letting me join in.
No
Absolutely.
problem. Thanks.
I don't know if you've been following along. We're talking about worst outage that we've ever experienced.
One that I've caused or one that wasn't my fault?
Well, we were getting to that.
If you're an IT guy, eventually you're going to cause an outage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it happens.
That's
to be
the
perfectly
truth.
honest, if you're doing your job right, you're going to cause an outage.
That
right?
is
Like,
correct.
Yeah.
if
And
you
if
are
you're doing your job wrong, you're going to cause an outage. So
Yeah. Or at least get your laptop thrown in the garbage.
there is that too. Yes. So
Oh.
we live, we learn. We do some of these things. One of the craziest outages I've ever had, the cause of that was a dump truck with his bed up going and taking out overhead fiber. So yeah, thank you very much, Spectrum in Janesville.
That'll do it.
And it did. so yeah, that was one of the driving factors of going and switching off of a single connection over to a BPG connection. So you know the term.
Yep.
BGP.
BGP.
Yeah.
3 little letters. Shauna, yes, I have. I can think of one in particular. At one of our mutual previous companies, the entire point of sale system ran on a single VM. I was on the VMware console for that server and hit Control-Alt-Delete to lock my computer, which passed right through into the VM and rebooted it. That VM had not been rebooted in like 2 years and had a pending check disk on many terabytes. Yeah. Oops. So that's the only like really big one where it was like, oh God. So that I think there was only 500 stores at the time, maybe even less. But all of them dead in the water for like 45 minutes while check disk ran. Absolutely nothing you can do to speed it up.
Yeah. Wow. And looking at all the faces staring at you while it's
Yep.
going on. Yeah.
You standing behind me doesn't make this go any quicker.
No.
I mean, honestly, what you hope is that it happens late enough in your career that you can really learn from it permanently, but early enough that like it becomes useful information for you. That being said, if you work in the industry long enough, you'll cause more than one. Sometimes like completely unpredictably. I took a system down. I completely wiped out all of our user data in Azure because the upgrade process of a syncing software didn't work correctly. That was rough. Learned from it, but and recovered pretty quickly. But that's relatively recent in my career. I guess the reason I said that, like, if you're doing your job right, you're going to cause outages is, like, at some point you do have to get things done, right? Like, you can't vet
absolutely.
things permanent, like, forever.
Yeah.
They're not paying you to, like, honestly, they're not paying you to be perfect. They're paying you to be
effective.
Correct.
Sometimes you have to make a decision. Sometimes it has repercussions. Well, sorry. That needed to get patched. That needed to get rebooted. That whatever had to happen had to happen.
Yep.
I mean, you try and minimize these things as much as possible, but
sometimes there are vendors that like to upgrade software and move things around, which make it easier to cause these kind of outages. I don't know if you remember the Windows 2003 to 2008 transition, where they changed around where the shutdown, restart, log off buttons are.
Yes.
So back in those
muscle
days,
memory.
yeah,
Gotcha.
just muscle memory. Yeah, and I rebooted a server. No, actually, I shut it down for a company that Chris and I used to work for, where we did work for other companies, and so I don't even remember the name of the company. It was down in the Oak Creekish area, South Milwaukee, whatever. And I was doing some remote work, and we had just
probably
upgraded.
Shouldn't say even if you remember.
No, I wouldn't. But it was just that muscle memory where, okay, I'm done. Yep. I'm going to log off, and that's a problem.
Was it a physical server?
It certainly was, sir. It was a small
colo somewhere,
Yep. So
off hours when there's nobody there to go hit the magic button.
No, it was right in the middle of the workday. So it's even worse at that point, because then you get to call them up and say, hey, you want to go push the button on your server to light it back up, the one I just shut down? So
yeah,
well, it happens.
It does.
Unfortunately, yes, it does.
Yeah, I think that's the only time I've ever caused an outage in that fashion.
Yeah. And Katie, the fact that it was hospitals doesn't surprise me at all.
Hospitals are awful.
The budgets seem to be large, but the stuff they have to pay for is ridiculous. I've been in probably 6 or 7 different hospital server rooms, server farms, whatever you want to call them. And some of them are really nice. Some of them are not. And that, like, big hospital groups with just like really sketchy equipment. And also tiny little hospital groups with beautiful equipment. You just can't tell.
Yeah. It's all about where their priorities are.
Right.
Because some places are, HIPAA doesn't apply to us. Okay, that's not how that works.
At one point, I was the HIPAA security person for a healthcare provider. HIPAA's no fun. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Also, if you think HIPAA is protecting your privacy, it's not.
No, it's protecting other people's butts. HIPAA, PCI, HITRUST, SOX.
Oh, now there's a story time that we could have. Save up your stories.
Lots and lots and lots of long stories about Sarbanes-Oxley.
Yeah.
I'm adding it to the list. That's a future story time that we're going to get to.
All right. Here's a question for you, Brian, Chris. We've talked about the struggles and the strains of 2021 and even 2020. I mean, what were some of the highlights industry-wise for, say, 2021? And go.
To some extent, some businesses, smart ones, realizing that teleworking is a good, it can be a good thing and should be embraced as such, especially for IT. There's no reason for everybody in IT to be on site every day in almost any type of organization. Work from home should, if you can't trust somebody to work from home, you shouldn't have them on your payroll.
Yeah, well, I don't understand what makes them think that they're going to get any more or less work out of them at home or in the office.
I'm way more productive at home than I ever was in the office.
I think it's that.
Well, you had me sitting next to you, so that was
yeah. We had snore wars.
Sometimes I just didn't think.
It only happened a couple times, but yeah. The mouse click wakes you up. Whoa.
I'm sorry, Chris. You were going.
No.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting to see. Well, I think it was interesting to see the number of companies that went through 2020 and grudgingly accepted the idea of remote work, and were pleasantly surprised with the results, but then like didn't take that pleasant surprise
didn't
and
learn anything from it.
Right. Didn't understand that, like, actually you don't need to bring these people back. There's some that, like, within a couple of months made the choice, like, yeah, we're never coming back. We're going to sell our office building and we're going to, like, not pay for real estate anymore. But the other thing that's interesting to me is just in general, businesses continue to try to solve problems that are not IT problems with IT solutions, right? Like, if you don't trust your workforce, how many times have you been asked the question like, "Hey, can you give me the logs of their internet browsing history," or, whatever the question is in your particular area of IT?
Yes, and that's been a pet peeve of mine for my entire career.
For decades.
Oh yeah.
They're trying to fix a behavioral problem with a technology solution, and there is no such thing. There is really isn't.
I believe if somebody's doing their job, I don't care if they're going to ESPN.com or Facebook.
Correct.
No, if they're not doing their job, this is a management problem, not an IT problem.
If they're not doing their job, it doesn't matter if they're not going to ESPN.com, right? Like, they're not doing their job.
Still needs to be addressed.
Right.
I will gladly block all the things that will do the company harm. I mean, porn, spyware, adware, all the malware stuff, all the stuff that will be a legal liability for the company. Oh yeah, I'll block the hell out of that. That's fine. That makes total sense.
Spyware, adware, all the malware stuff, all the stuff that will
okay, who's looping here?
Rick. I think we're getting Rick.
Block the hell out of that. That's fine. That makes total sense. Sorry.
Yeah, that's you.
It was me.
Mute yourself first.
Took down another. Yep. Took it down again.
There again. Yeah. Yep. Rick caused a loop.
That's good stuff.
Sorry.
So, Sean, I had a question. Do you feel like camaraderie is harder working from home? I feel like my company embraces each other well through distance. That all depends on how the company is, what their culture is like. I mean, some companies it's great. Some companies I see how it would fall through. And even I feel like it would be tough for any company to be just 100% remote all the time, unless they're doing a lot of even video conferences. It's not the same. I mean, sometimes you need to sit down with people and actually talk to them face to face. I don't know. I don't even like talking to people on the phone.
No, you don't.
No, really not.
No.
I'm not a fan either.
It's not productive.
I like working with people over the phone when
I'll do a Zoom
when there's a task to do.
Yes.
But just to chat with people. But when I first went to my current employer, there were people sitting, one desk apart from one another, and instead of getting up and talking to one another, they would message each other through Teams, which I found quite odd.
Yeah, that's a little odd. I like
and
being able to
whatever.
stand up and
And
talk to people.
we're even
But
more disconnected now than we were at that point. So there
Yeah.
are people that I won't talk to all week long, except for in stand-up meetings and this and that and the other. Whatever. The only time I talk to them, and then the only time they say anything is when they're specifically called on to talk, and then they're done. They mute them, and then when the call's over, they're done. You don't hear from them until the next meeting.
I think it depends on the
but
individual,
to answer,
right?
at least for my opinion on Shauna's question, is I think camaraderie, at least in my experience, has suffered a little bit from the remote work, whatever, because it was too much. It was too easy to get up and just kind of walk to somebody's cube and shoot the breeze with them for a few minutes or whatever. And that builds that there's more to working together than just the technology or just what the work is, because you really, in my opinion, you should become at least work friends, and be able to socialize and work and whatever to make sure that you're able to even communicate with one another. Right. So I think that's kind of important. And then I think we're losing a little bit on that, where I suggest to my boss that we have at least as a group, our group, we get together 3-4 times a year as a group to have lunch, to just spend the day at the office together.
even that is probably not enough. That should be
Right.
at least every other week or monthly.
I would agree. But
So basically quarterly? I mean,
it's something.
Well, yeah, I
it's
mean, I
I've
guess
been
it's better
pushing.
than nothing,
I'd like to
but
see it weekly myself, but
that's asking a lot,
it is.
especially once people get in the groove of working remote.
Yeah. Well, and there's as remote work comes into becomes a consistent and permanent thing, you're going to have people I signed on for a remote job. So I live in New York and your office is in Chicago. I'm not coming in once a week, right?
No, yeah, and that's unrealistic, but we'll fly you in once a month. You spend 3 days.
Yep.
Or whatever makes sense for the company,
or
to spend a couple of days on site and actually get FaceTime, and then you go about your business.
Or we'll fly you in twice a quarter, right? And you'll spend 2-3 days here. And part of your job, I think something that I think we all know this as professionals. Some of the way that work gets done and work gets done efficiently is by relationships that develop through inefficient things, right? Like conversations about how are your kids? What'd you do this weekend? Developing relationships makes things work better, right? And you can't develop, it's harder to develop the relationships if all you're doing is Teams Zoom calls. I have a number of developers that I work with that are primarily remote. My interaction with them is largely on messaging and meetings, but man, I do my best to develop a relationship with them on those. And it depends on the person, right? There's some that either they're busy or their personalities are such that it's just not going to work out, right? You're not going to be able to develop that relationship remotely. And for those people, yeah, having them on site, super important.
Well, can you imagine how much harder it'd be if you never had any existing face-to-face relationship with most of these people?
Exactly. No,
I mean,
I'm a pretty outgoing guy. But yeah, hard.
I'm work outgoing. I'm not real life outgoing. That's probably why all my friends are former coworkers or current coworkers. That's almost my entire life.
Well, Brian, when you do go out, you are the life of the party.
Oh, yes.
Brian is a good time. And don't let anybody kid you.
Yeah. It even says so on a couple of bathroom walls I've been in. So.
Oh, yeah. Well,
sorry, my handwriting's not as
out.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I used to write Rick is a good time, and now I write Brian's a good time.
Nah, not so much anymore.
Yeah, old bones.
Yeah.
Indeed.
How many people do we actually have on? Do we have?
There's 3 right now.
We have viewers or whatever.
I can see it. There's 3 people watching right now.
Who's still alive? Katie, Shauna, you still out there?
I would imagine it's Katie, Shauna, and Wendy.
I mean, we're doing well. At least we haven't lost one of those.
It dropped down to 2. It's been up to 4. It's about par for the course.
Yep.
I think it's kind of late for
It is.
several of my customers.
And 8:30 start is a little rough.
I know one that's normally participates is he's sledding this weekend or tonight, and so he's either on his sled or at the bar. So
or both,
or
if you,
depending on where he's at.
Yeah.
For folks in the future that might go back and watch this when we become wildly popular,
the hot
never
topic
know.
of IT operations.
Sledding is a term that we here in the northern climes use to refer to snowmobiling.
Snowmobiles. Yeah.
It's not some guy on a disc just riding down a hill all night.
Yeah, it's not Clark Griswold on his aluminum disc with the spray on.
Oh yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. If and it's really not IT, it's not technology related, but for a very long time, the workforce in general was, for the most part, expendable. At least that's how a lot of people doing work felt, right? So it was too easy for a company to just say, yeah, see ya, for whatever reason. Now, last year, some things, political climate changed and working climate kind of changed a little bit. And now people are just like, no, I'm not putting up with that. So I'm just going to up and leave. And
job market got a lot better.
What's that?
A lot of people dropped out of the job market.
And job market got seriously improved. And are you guys seeing that companies are actually trying to step up and actually learn from that lesson? Or what do you think? I mean, I've heard
maybe through necessity,
good and bad from both.
Good companies good management is still going to behave as good management, and bad management is still going to behave as bad management. I don't think that's changed or ever will.
Okay.
Yeah. I think largely when people feel expendable, I think it's because their management structure has not communicated to them that they aren't. And let's be clear. No one is irreplaceable, right? Like at the end of the day, we're all replaceable. We're all expendable to some extent. But
yeah, it's just how much money is it going to take to get somebody to replace us?
Right. And what's the level of desire of the company to do that? Like, are they always looking at like, nah, I can get it. You know, is it Beyonce? Like, I can have another you in a minute, right? Or is it a little more nuanced? Like, I can have somebody here tomorrow, but you're bad, they're going to be worse, right? Or I'm not, do they at least have the sense to decide, I don't love you right now, but on the whole, I don't hate you. Like I got put on the chopping block really early in my career as literally a statistic, right? Like had to do 30% workforce reduction, and I was the low man on the totem pole. So out I went. And ever since then, I've taken a very utilitarian approach to that employee-employer relationship. At the same time, my best jobs have been the ones where my employer, and more importantly, my management, has taken a more human approach and has consideration for things like, you know what, you're going through a rough time now. Like, let's support you. You're having kids. Like, let's be reasonable about that. Oh, you're getting married? Let's give you some time off. Like, those kinds of behaviors, or Yeah, you made a mistake. Did you learn from it? Great. That's all I want. Like those are the relationships that make an employment relationship. Um, do I think those are more present now? Um, I I think I've seen a couple of signs that that's true. It's hard to
And
say.
I would agree with that, Chris. I think companies are trying to change their management styles and learning to say, hey, we've got valuable people here now. I mean, there are situations where companies are hiring, and the people that they hire don't even show up. They never make it to their first day. They quit before they start.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And that's a huge issue. So at least some of management that I've seen for companies that I've talked to people or whatever, some of them are trying to change their ways and change their management styles and reorganize so that more people-centric managers are actually managing people, and the non-people-centric managers are managing themselves or smaller teams.
Yeah.
So I was curious of the reason I brought it up. I'm just curious of what you guys see out in the world where you are.
I've seen some signs. I mean, every business has got managers that are great and others that aren't. I encourage everybody that either is a leader or interacts with leadership to check out Simon Sinek. If you really want to understand what good leadership is, and even if you aren't a leader, you should understand what it is, because there should be a standard and you should hold your leadership to it, at least in your own head, right? He speaks well about what it is to lead in a way that people want to follow, and in a way that like gets good results. You can terrify people into good results sometimes, right? But if you lead well, you will get good results.
Inspire
Consistently
people into
long-term.
good results,
Right? And
instead of terrifying them into good results.
No,
yeah,
Chris and I had a manager like that years ago who thought fear was the best tactic.
Yeah, that doesn't
that
work.
was a great motivator. And no, it motivated both of us to go find something else to do.
If you're managing teenagers working, I don't know, at the Gap or something like maybe, but not for
fear is easy, right? Like everybody knows how to make somebody else afraid, particularly if you're in a position of power, right? Like as a parent, one of your tactics, if you haven't done something to cause your child to fear as one of your methods of curbing their bad behavior, like, or risky behavior, then honestly, I don't know that you're doing your job right. I am not a child psychologist. Maybe I'm scarring my children permanently, but like,
well, let's hope so.
Right. But like as a management tactic, fear is not very effective for teenagers. They're not fully formed humans. Sometimes there's not a lot that cuts through the noise of what it is to be a teenager. But if you're working with adults like 18, 19 years or older, in a professional setting, and you're using fear as your primary motivator, you've missed something, right?
yeah.
If you're using fear as any part of your motivation, you may want to check yourself.
Right.
Well, especially if they're significantly older than that, say in the 30s, or if it's knowledge workers, that'll get you by for a very short period of time, and you're just not going to get the results you expect long term. It's not going to happen.
Correct. Let's see here. I'm going to throw Simon's name into the comments so you all can see it.
All right.
He's not the best all the time, but he has some good cogent things to to say, and you'll find a ton of other commentators, YouTubers about leadership by looking at some of his stuff. I encourage you to go out and view it, whether you're in leadership or not, because it's important to understand what makes leaders good. Good leaders make good employees make good IT people, and good IT people make my life easier. So
Indeed. I will be back in just a minute.
just one.
Just one.
Should I start a timer?
I mean,
go get another glass, Brian. And Chris, what are we drinking? What are you drinking tonight, sir?
So my first one was a crudely made Tom Collins gin and lemonade, effectively. So my recipe for a Tom Collins, with the ingredients that I have at home, is gin, lemon juice, and not freshly squeezed because it's late in the holidays and, I don't have fresh lemons around. So just lemon juice container, a little simple syrup, and some club soda.
Nice.
Tasty, great summer drink if you've never had one, by the way. And now I'm drinking a Shell's Oktoberfest. I'm a huge fan of Oktoberfest beers.
I am drinking coffee. So at what? 9 o'clock at night. That's.
I don't want to know if you're drinking coffee.
Yes, I am. Here, she had another question, Chris. Speaking of having good leadership, she's new to QA and trying to move into management. What do you think of management courses, LinkedIn Learning, cert classes? Yeah, all of the above, Shauna.
Yeah, what I would tell you is there's some old standbys in management training. And like most education, you get to choose what you take out of it. What is it? Management Recruiters International is a pretty long-standing organization for management resources. They actually provide training that I've looked over their materials. It's pretty good. I've seen people come out of that management training and just be awful. But I've also seen people come out of that and have developed some really good nascent management skills. I haven't looked into the specifics of LinkedIn Learning, but if you want to go, honestly, you can probably find a good course at like a local community college. You can sign on for single credits, audit a course at a local university. For additional leadership, go take some psychology courses. And don't do like Psych 101, right? They're going to give you the intro to psych, but go find a Psych 303 or something like that for some kind of management discipline, business management class that gets taught to both business undergrad and master's candidates. There are good resources out there.
You have quite a drive to work and back every day when you do go to the office, and get you some books on tape or books on whatever, the audio books, and listen.
People do podcasts now.
What's that?
Podcasts these days.
Audio. Well, they do. Well, they actually have. They have books on. They have books on tape or audio books of how to work with difficult people. And you can think of Brian when you read or listen to that book. But yeah, conflict resolution, like Chris said, because there's a lot of psychology in management that you have to deal with unruly people. I mean, so and then you have people that you don't have to deal with at all. They're model employees.
I mean, the other thing to remember with management today is we do an awful thing to managers. we make them responsible for project management, which is one set of discipline. We also make them responsible for mentorship, and then we make them responsible for like actual management, like assessing people, calling them to task. Like there's a lot of stuff we make managers do today that are like completely opposed. For instance, giving people regular assessments and determining whether or not they get a raise is very much at odds with coaching and mentorship, right? Like those two relationships are completely different, but somehow we want our managers to do it. Hi, Scott.
There's a face I haven't seen for a long time.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
God.
How you been?
Good. Living the dream. I saw the live stream and I saw Rick, the old guy, was here, and Brian and Chris, and I was like, I gotta get out of my hot tub and jump on.
Yep. Oh, you could have live streamed from the hot tub.
You could have.
I didn't know what type of
your
show
petri
this
dish.
was. Yeah, that is what it is, isn't it? Hot tubs are actually disgusting. They really are.
Fun story. Brian and I don't know what kind of show it is yet either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
we're working on that.
this is.
I mean, it's probably not that kind, but we're working on it.
I mean, I heard probably 20 seconds of it, and I thought it was pretty entertaining. And I know you talked to me.
You
a
must have
little
heard
bit
the
about
good
it.
20 seconds.
Yeah.
No, I heard Rick talking, and I was in.
Wait, you were hearing me talk, but you said it was a good 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
we were giving Shauna advice about she wants to move into IT management, and we were kind of giving her advice on what kind of education books to read or books to listen to or podcasts to listen to. You have any insight on that, Scott?
Well, so I mostly live within ServiceNow. I am I did not go to college. I don't have any degrees. I just got a bunch of certifications.
Nope.
Me neither.
So the best advice, honestly, that I could give anyone to be good at IT is to be able to talk to people and to have those soft skills that are I think that's very important to have, because nobody wants to work with someone who's kind of a pain. So having some of those soft skills and being able to talk to people and being able to understand where people are coming from, I think that's honestly one of the more important things about excelling in the IT career than anything else, really. Because I mean, again, nobody wants to work with a pain in the ass, for lack of a better term.
Unless it's Rick.
Well, Rick was the good pain in the ass. We all
Yeah.
If Rick was mad and yelling at you, you know that you may have effed up.
Or he did.
Or he did.
I mean,
Yeah, or he did.
Scott, I will echo that. Like, soft skills are huge. My best manager in my entire IT career was a person that had zero technical skills, admitted as much, but had great soft skills, and knew how to find good technical resources. Like, if she thought we were feeding her a line of bullshit, she'd check. But at the end of the day, she's great to work for.
Right.
Because she understood how to manage people.
That's important. That's really important. Like, so there's a lot of really bright IT people who are like can't talk to anyone, and that's difficult. But if you're a person who can figure out, what's going on, or just like learn quickly, I would say that's more important than anything, really, which that comes down to soft skills, I think.
Some people just don't need to be managed too, and I think a lot of managers need to understand that. Like,
be able to identify that and get the hell out of the way.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's people like, frankly, Brian. I'm not trying to.
And so I
up your skirt, but you are one of those people that really don't need a lot of direct management. And the best thing that anybody could ever do for you is just get out of your way and let you do your work.
Well, right? Yeah, so, and do the little things on the side that I need to be able to do my job effectively.
Right.
I mean,
run interference,
Run the interference, give me the budget I need, and keep people the hell away from me.
Yeah. And some people need a little bit more hands-on. Like, I mean, not to talk about myself, but I need a little bit of, pat on the back. You're doing a good job, Rick. Quit being paranoid. That kind of thing is something that I need. And Chris is another one that needs a little bit more social interaction than Brian would. But Chris is very competent at what he does, so he doesn't need a lot of hand holding either. But he does like that social aspect of being on the job. He does like, that's what I've seen. And Scott, I haven't worked with you in such a long time. I can't give you anything.
I was gonna say you just need to make sure that that I don't break anything. That'd probably be it.
Yeah. Try not to cause any outages.
Yeah, I haven't caused an outage in a long time.
Here's another one. See,
that's good.
If you haven't caused an outage yet, you're not a good IT guy. You're just not. I think everybody should actually have the misfortune of causing an outage because that teaches you things, and
it does.
Humility is like one of the best teaching aids in our business, right? It teaches people how to be humble, and you need to learn how to make mistakes and move on from them, right? Because you can't dwell on that mistakes. I caused an outage for a customer years ago, and it freaked me out because they had to buy new equipment. It cost them a lot of money. It was a bad thing. And I listened to them, and they said, yeah, we got good backups. And they didn't have good backups, and I destroyed a server. And I couldn't function for a couple of days because I couldn't get past that I caused that bad of an outage. And one of the things that I learned from that is that you got to be able to just pick right up and keep right on working through that problem, through that outage, and keep going. That's one of the things.
Keep on keeping on.
Yep. Even though it cost that company like $25,000, it was rough. It was a bad day, bad couple.
Okay. Yeah, and shit happens. You pick yourself up and get them going again. I mean,
right.
You can wallow in your own sorrow for as long as you want, but that doesn't help them get up and going.
I mean, so long at the end of the day that you have a good postmortem of, okay, why did this happen and how could we do better? I think that's right.
Well, yeah. Have you learned anything from that outage?
Right. And it doesn't matter who caused it or, why, but okay, what are we going to do to make this not happen again? I think that's pretty important too.
Absolutely.
So you and Shauna work together via Teams on occasion, Scott?
We worked together briefly in my stint at a hospital system. I don't know if we're naming names.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, at my stint at a hospital system, we worked briefly together. I was actually I found her in the user database when I was doing my my audit duties, and was like, wait, hold on a second.
I know that name.
And I was like, let's pull it up on chat. Oh, hey, how's it going? I didn't know you worked here.
Nice.
But yeah, I am. I moved on. I've actually moved on twice. Starting a new position here in end of January, which should be pretty exciting.
Where are you going? I think that we can discuss safely because you're excited about it.
ServiceNow.
Okay.
Oh,
You're actually going to work for the company ServiceNow?
Correct.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank
yes,
you.
Sir.
yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully it pans out. If not, I'll just
Do something else.
continue contracting or being a grifter or whatever it is that I do.
Yeah, I'm digging the contracting.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
Mark,
good.
Rounder.
Well, I consider myself more a consultant than a contractor, but yeah.
It's good until you realize you have to take days off and you don't have PTO, and then that's
Well, no, but
Well, that's budgeting and planning, right? I was a contractor for a long time, and you budget your time and budget your money in, because when you're gonna, sick days are a pain because those you can't plan for.
Mm-hmm.
But vacations and stuff, you can plan for those.
Well, unless it's me and my friends are like, hey, let's go up north to go snowmobiling tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. But you can't plan for that.
No. it's difficult when you're working with any company that
Yeah.
you can just up and do that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, my last consulting contracting gig was for a company that took 2 days to do an annual company meeting, and they just they had really basic levels of support, but apart from that, the entire company just checked out, and that was like a shock to the system for some customers that they had. Like, what do you mean you're not available? We're not available.
Wow,
That's
Yeah, it
that's
was
a
a
little
bold
push.
move. It was a
That's
bold
yeah,
move.
Yeah.
yeah,
you
very
better be the
bold.
only one doing that, whatever,
move,
making that
That-
widget or
Yeah,
supporting
sounds a
that
little more
thing.
like irresponsible than bold.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, if things really hit the fan, like they'd get support, but the standard tracks to get to their support resources were a lot longer, and like there was a fair amount of resistance to it. So, um, you know, when you're a consultant, one of the things you do is provide the best service you can, right? Like that's how you get business by going above and beyond. And that 2 days where you're like, you're not allowed to go above and beyond. Hard.
Yep. Honestly, when I consulted, and I still kind of consult, I think consulting was probably one of the most rewarding, at least jobs that I think I've ever had, and it's really a cool thing to do because you get to go to all these different companies and you get to say, okay, so what are your problems? What how can we help? And you do it, and then once the contract is done, you've done your job and met your goals, you can move on to something else. And that I really like consulting. I just went on a little tangent there. I just
No,
really
I had my first job out of the gate in IT was as a field service guy, right? Same thing. You show up, there's a specific problem, you solve it, and once you solve it, you're the hero. Like
Yep.
it's a definite sense of accomplishment, uh, sense of completion, and then you move on to something different, and that's amazing.
Yep.
Like I there's things I like about my corporate job, right? But the fact that a lot of days look the same is it's not my favorite thing.
Right. And that's a cool thing too, especially for people who have a habit of, going somewhere else every 1 to 2 years. It's like, well, when you're consulting, you kind of do that, but you didn't leave your actual job, right? So that's also kind of a plus, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can stick it out with a consulting organization for multiple years, yeah. Like you kind of get the best of both worlds, right? Like you get to develop these long relationships, um, get some tenure, um, and all the advantages that come with that. And at the same time, get to do new and interesting things. Um, I'll say that like once you get some tenure in a consulting organization, um, like part of the way that consulting organizations stay healthy and stay relevant is by being hungry. And like once you're there for a while, you're part of that like hungry organization. So there's that constant drive to develop customer base and that kind of thing. But it's not that bad.
I did that managed services consulting contractor thing for about 12 years.
Mhm.
And well, I tell you, at the end of it, I was tired of it. And Chris, you know what I was going through at the
Oh,
end
yeah.
of it. But
Oh, yeah.
I was never so happy to get a corporate job when I moved on from there. Only to have Brian throw my laptop in the trash. But
I'd do it again too. If I had
yes,
to.
you would. Yes, you would. I'm sure of it. There's a lot to be said to have in that corporate desk. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'd be able to do the consulting thing again.
I think it all depends on, and this is cliche, but it all depends on the quote unquote culture, right? My experience of the consulting was a bunch of very, very bright people, and I was the dumbest person in the room all the time, which is very humbling, really. And when you're working in an environment like that, it engages you and motivates you to kind of do better, so to speak. But it certainly, I've seen, there's so many different consulting firms that have all sorts of different, mentalities and cultures that definitely is not the same. And in my case, for my company, I still love them to death, but it was very short lived. It lost a couple deals, and then it wasn't as fun anymore when everyone's like, "Oh no, how are we going to pay all the bills?" Right? But yeah, it's a dog eat dog world in consulting, but it can be fun, I will say. But I got out of it, and I'm still kind of happy I got out of it in the same.
Yeah, maybe it'll come back around someday for you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I still kind of do it now, but
Yeah, little stuff here and there.
yeah.
I mean,
Scott, did you ever hear the laptop in the trash can story?
I feel like that's an old B plus like joke that
Yeah,
I probably would have
Well,
remembered, but
It was a
real thing that
925 story.
It's turned into a long running joke, but we'll let Brian tell his side of the story.
all right, I want to hear about it actually. Okay, was it a Lenovo or
It was indeed a Lenovo.
Was it? Yeah,
but
was
it
it?
wasn't
Okay.
because it was a Lenovo. It
No.
was an operator error. You correct. It was operator error. So, Mr.
Well, it was operator error. It was I probably hadn't done things that I should have to prevent things like that from happening, which allowed it to happen. It was things that were convenient, but invited issues like we had seen. So what was happening is, for probably a 2-week span, every day or two, just at like weird random times, all of a sudden our core switches, switch, it was a 4500, I think a 4507R, whatever the hell it was.
I thought it was a pair, but okay.
No, yeah, it was a
that blade switch thing.
yeah, it was, I think it was a 4507R. Anyways, it would just basically get saturated. Nothing would work. You couldn't even console into the thing. And then everybody would freak out and try and figure out what was going on, and then all of a sudden it would stop, and it'd be fine for a couple hours or a couple of days, and then all of a sudden happen again. So after a couple of weeks of this happening, it happened while Richard was at lunch. So I was actually able to get into the switch and see that, wow, that kind of looks like a loop coming from this port. Where does that port go? Oh, that's Rick's desk. Oh, that's Rick's laptop. Wow, it's going from the wireless to the wired port. All right, I'll just take his laptop and undock it. Oh, that instantly resolved it into the garbage. Literally threw it in the garbage bin. I got yelled at for it, but whatever.
I came back into the office and I'm like, where the hell's it? Why is my laptop in the trash? And everybody was really quiet when I got into the room. And this is before we moved. We were at 925 at this time.
Yes, it
we
was
had
still
moved over to
925.
1325. And we were kind of in this bullpen little tiny room. And like, there's my laptop sitting on top of the trash heap. And everybody was kind of quiet, and somebody went, Brian, put it in there. And here's what I was doing, Scott. I was experimenting with VMware
Workstation.
Yeah,
installed on his
VMware
laptop.
And yeah, it was installed on the laptop. I didn't have any VMs running. I didn't have anything going, but
Workstation decided to bridge the wired and the wireless laptops, which both dropped in the same VLAN.
Right.
So whenever it would decide that, hey, I want to be active, now it's looping the network.
I had no idea it was doing that stuff. And yeah, I would go out because that was at a period of time when I was in and out quite a bit for a family member's health reasons.
Yes.
And so I would be gone. I would come back. We'd have problems. I would say, fuck this. I'll go home and work from home, and the problem would go away, or whatever. It was just whatever. And yeah. So yeah, that's me bringing the network down.
Yeah, that's how Rick's laptop ended up in the garbage.
So now I've learned that when I'm playing around with VMware Workstation, I disable the Wi-Fi NIC in the laptop.
Honestly, it was a fluke, and if I would have designed that site from scratch, I never would have had the regular corp Wi-Fi dropping into the same VLAN as regular wired LAN traffic. But
Right.
In fact,
it was legacy stuff.
When you did redesign that network, you didn't have the corp
No, it was
Wi-Fi.
separate. Yeah.
Yep.
So we both learned something that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Then that's
I wouldn't have done it that way anyways, but it was like, oh, now I know why I wouldn't do it that way.
Right. Well, and now my environment is set up where Wi-Fi, it can't even get to the rest of the networks. It simply can't. So
Yeah.
That's the way that's supposed to be.
well, it can and can't. It depends on what you're after. So
Never trust
Yeah.
your Wi-Fi.
well, this goes back to the conversation we were having earlier, where
WPA2, EAP, or
Yep.
WPA3, you're fine, but
some sort of radius or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. If you're doing PSK on any, no, you never trust that.
No.
I mean,
treat that as a DMZ.
yeah. Just
No,
It's
the
too
guest
easy.
Wi-Fi network, is completely. You couldn't even begin it.
I like
Yes,
that.
Shauna, everyone, even you now.
That was slick. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
all right.
So
Well, listen, I'm gonna bounce out of here. I
Oh,
told
come
my
on.
lovely bride that I would be up about an hour ago. So
We
it's out.
before you go, Rick,
yes, sir.
this being our effectively our New Year's show, do you have any tech or other predictions for 2022?
Well, you guys were talking. I heard you talking earlier that the Log4j, the rampant hijacking that was going on, with the crypto lockers and things like that going on.
Yeah, proliferation of ransomware.
Yeah, the ransomware situation being what it is. I don't think I don't think it's going to get any better this year. I think things are going to get worse before they get better. Unfortunately, that's kind of my prediction. And all we can do is keep working to try to keep our heads at least somewhat above water with it for now. And I think what is going to have to happen, and to a certain extent is starting to happen a little bit, and this is given to the conversation I had about businesses actually starting to treat their employees a little bit better. The companies are going to have to start listening to the people that actually do the work and that know what they're talking about and understand what it takes to keep a company network secure. And it's not just having a firewall in place. That's not at all what it is. There's way more than that. And it's not being, SOC 2 compliant and, no trust or high trust or whatever. It's all of those things. And then being smart about their security. And I can spend 20 minutes on this. They just need to start listening to people like Chris and like Brian and to a lesser extent myself, because I'm not necessarily a security guy, but common sense needs to rule. And instead of ticking boxes on a compliance worksheet, doesn't make you that doesn't make you compliant, really. It doesn't make you
No, it doesn't
secure.
make you secure. It may or may not make you compliant. You check the
Correct.
box. Does that box actually represent reality? That's
That
the
is
biggest
correct.
problem I see with PCI, Sarbox, SOX, high trust, everything. HIPAA, especially HIPAA.
HIPAA, God, that's rough. Yeah,
Just-
and you know
just
where
'cause
I'm
you-
at. We have to deal with a lot of HIPAA, and it's
Just because you check that box doesn't mean you're secure.
that's correct.
That means somebody's ass is on the line and somebody else's ass is safe-ish.
I got told one time it's okay because we have a non-disclosure agreement with these people.
Nope, that is not how that works. That is absolutely not reality.
Right. So I'm like,
10,000% not true.
oh, right. Yeah. Doing a demo with live real data.
No, God, no.
No. Yeah. I got in trouble for submitting a security incident for that very thing. And
Why
I
would
was
you get in
told-
trouble for that? Because that's a real issue.
I got
Yeah.
told that's okay because
Probably.
we have non-disclosures. And now
Nope,
you've
that
created
is
a bunch of
not
paperwork.
okay.
So Rick, I work for a healthcare company that did demos with live patient data. They had stripped all personally identifying information, but they had also gotten the
PHI.
patient's permission.
Okay. This was not the
Direct.
case.
No,
Yeah.
that's the only way it works.
Not the
Like
case.
you need the patient to sign off on the regular. Like you can't just get them to sign off once. Like we went back to that patient, I want to say yearly, I think, and got permission. I could be wrong, but like we had data that was compelling, and I think the patient was kind of proud of it too. So
Yeah. There was absolutely no need to have this patient data up as part of
No.
this demonstration because it wasn't
You could have had dummy
it wasn't
data.
about that. It was a demonstration about software. So
Yeah. You don't need live data for that kind of
No.
stuff.
God,
No, you could have some procedurally generated fake data.
It was-
Somebody
it was
would have
crazy.
loved to have come up with that. Something
It
to
was- yeah.
generate all that.
Yeah, at any rate, my point is
2022, we're not done with
Do you
ransomware.
see Katie's question? Was it lupus? It's always lupus.
It's
You watch
always
Dr. House.
lupus.
It's
always
never lupus.
No, it's
It's
always
never lupus.
lupus.
It's never lupus.
It's
Except
never
for that
lupus
one time.
except for when it is. Well, it was like 6 times, but
Yeah.
it's never lupus except for when it is.
What was that other one where you had the copper ring?
Tetanus.
What?
Tetanus.
And anyway, whatever. But not like I was go back and finish up, Chris, your question. I think it's going to get a little worse this year than it before it gets better. Unfortunately, I think that's it. And I'm hoping that the
It's
people that are focused on compliance check marks actually start to realize that we really need to start. They need to start listening to the people that are in the trenches doing the work and knowing what they're doing, and start writing some checks.
Right.
It's going to keep getting worse until it starts getting better.
How long is that network going to
Yeah.
be down? Well, it'll be down until it's up.
Sometimes that's the answer.
It is the answer. Actually,
No,
one of my favorite
it's going to keep
engineers from Market Electronics way back in the day. He was a VAX administrator, had to do a defrag. It just had to happen because everything was real slow, and he did the defrag. It was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and the manufacturing manager came over and said, "Well, how long will it be down?" And the guy looked at him straight in the face. He said, "It'll be down until it's up," and then walked away. It was the most marvelous thing I'd seen, in my career today.
Yeah, that was
Right.
my answer to a CIO when DMVPN decided to do the funky chicken.
Yeah, it'll be down
Back
until
up when it's done flailing around. It'll be back up. Sometimes that's the answer. I mean, what you can do?
It is.
It is.
And sometimes it's when you let me buy the right equipment, this will stop happening.
Yeah,
there's also that.
Or give
I
us
was
the
part of a
budget.
conversation like that earlier. Like, when is this going to stop happening? When we write this check, right? Like, and sure enough, we wrote the check, and then it stopped happening.
as a whole, companies keep paying ransoms. Why won't it stop? Because they keep.
Why wouldn't it stop? Well, yeah, that's her point. I'm pretty sure is that's why it keeps happening. That's why you don't pay.
You don't negotiate with terrorists.
Don't negotiate with terrorists.
Here's the thing. When you are a state, a government, right? It makes sense to not negotiate with the terrorist. But when you have your loved one held hostage, of course it makes sense to negotiate with the terrorist.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. Until the FBI can start providing monetary recompense to the individual victims, it's going to make sense to pay the ransom. Right? This is for businesses, this is an economic decision. Can I operate without this data? No? Okay. Where am I going to pay how am I going to pay my bills? If I can't pay my bills without having this data, I'm going to pay for the data. And the FBI can, you can go talk to the next guy, right? Until they can provide economic means to make it viable to not pay the ransom, companies will pay the ransom. Full stop. And this higher ideal of well, but they're going to keep ransoming people. You know what? They're not going to ransom me again. I've learned my lesson. But right now, I'm subject to the ransom. And honestly, once you've paid the ransom, if you're in the widgets business, if you're widget company A and you're paying the ransom right now, you're kind of hoping that widget company B also has to pay the...
Yeah.
It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, man.
Well, the problem is with paying the ransom, they know you're going to pay the ransom. So you become a more focused target for
so you better hope
future attacks.
Yeah, you better hope that you found every single install. Oh,
I mean, there have been
companies that have gotten exploited multiple times.
There's a whole string of companies. If you see that we saw that all summer long, where they got it and they got it again, and then they got it again after paying.
Because they never cleared it up the first time. I guarantee it. Yeah.
I mean,
exactly right.
These people aren't stupid.
Oh no.
They're going to go back and probe you again. Did you clean up your mess? At that point, those guys probably feel like they're providing a community service, right? Maybe you'll learn
Black
this time.
Hat ransomware. White hat ransomware. Sorry. Yeah, I'm doing this for you.
Right. I was a black hat before, but now I'm just trying to teach you a lesson. Hey, when my kid misbehaves the second time, I don't feel bad about the punishment at all. Because he's got to learn. Right? I'm sure
I tried to teach you and you didn't learn. So this is all on you.
I mean, at some point, if you're a white hat, you decide maybe I'm teaching you wrong. But if you're a black hat, you're like, meh, I provide you a lesson. You chose not to take it. But the majority of companies only have to learn that lesson once.
A smart company only needs to learn that.
Yeah,
once.
The smart companies. I'm not going to commit to the majority of companies, Chris.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Rick, you're trying to get back to your lovely wife.
I gotta go. We're gonna watch one more episode of Witcher, and then we're out of here.
How far are you in?
Second season. I think we just started. We were just getting ready to start the 5th episode on second season.
It turns corners, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. Enjoy yourself.
God damn it, Chris. Why do you do that? Because now I'm going to be waiting for this to turn some sort of corner.
I mean, it's already turned corners. Your 5th episode. I mean, tell me I'm
old
wrong.
And paranoid and all kinds of bad things. And
also, it's this super cool virtual reality thing where literally the Witcher is going to come out of your bathroom. So
literally, yeah. You're not even prepared.
Rick. I have no idea what just happened.
Just remember, throw a coin to your Witcher. Bye, Rick.
Scott, it's really good to see you, my brother. I'm gonna chat you up this week.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, let me know.
See you guys later.
Bye.
See ya. Bye. Thanks for joining us.
All right, I'm stepping away for another minute.
All right.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Not too bad. How you been?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good.
So, I remember you messaged me briefly about this.
Yep.
So
Probably 2 months ago. Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm guessing this isn't the first live stream you've had.
I think it's the 4th,
I see.
but probably only the 2nd that's been public.
Gotcha. So, what's the premise of it? Just anything IT?
Uh, so we're trying to keep it a little bit more generic. So there's people that do content on like system stuff. There's people that do content on network stuff. There's no one that does anything about like running a proper IT shop
That'd be something
or
interesting.
basically operations stuff where it's the not sexy stuff, but the stuff that keeps you going.
Right.
Like stupid stuff like naming and numbering standards. Why does everybody mess that up?
Yeah.
That should be simple.
Right.
And that's one of those that's actually one of those things that's like both Chris's and my pet peeves. So just an example, because it's not something that's specific to any group of IT. It's very generic.
Sure.
And it's something that people don't talk about. But it's overall, almost I'd like to beyond some short videos on specific content, I want most of this to be live and highly interactive. I mean, think public access, like call-in show.
Sure.
Like I want IT people to call and you know what, pop in. I mean, tell us we're stupid. If there's some blind spot we have, we want to know about it. But between Chris and I, we have almost 50 years of experience. We've seen a lot of things done wrong
More than
over the years. Yeah, more than right. We've seen more things done wrong than done right.
Also more than 50 years experience.
Is it? Yeah, I don't even know.
Unfortunately, yes.
So it's why let there's so many people that come in and make all these same mistakes over and over and over and over. And every company I go into, almost every company I go into as a consultant, I just see the same mistakes over and over and over and over.
Right.
Those are boring to fix. Give me interesting mistakes.
I mean, at the end of the day, even if you don't fix all of them, right? There are relatively simple, small steps that can be done super cheap to start to fix your issues. Right? Like you can take baby steps, and every one you take makes your life better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the continual transformation and process improvement that I think is very important for every company to kind of utilize, really.
Yeah, learn lessons and pass them on. Yeah.
Yep. How can we do better? Where do we need to be? Where do we want to be? Did we get there? No. Okay, nobody ever gets there, but that's the whole game, right?
I mean, if you're talking like, and this is super deep tech talk, right? Like if you're talking ITIL, one of the hidden gems is ITIL. In ITIL is continuous improvement and like process improvement.
Yep.
If you can make your process better every time, man, your tech, I mean, hopefully you're making your tech better too. But like if your process is that refined and that like razor sharp, you have tools that are so powerful. Like tech can do a lot for you, but tech can never fix bad process.
Yep.
Good process can fix bad tech all day, every day.
Yeah.
Yep. And that, I think that's a big pitfall that a lot of people and a lot of companies have is they're trying to use the tool to dictate the process versus having a good process to start with. Like if you can't do it on paper, you're not going to be able to do it with an IT tool, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, because you clearly can't define it. So how are
Right.
you going to do it
And that,
programmatically,
yep, and
algorithmically?
that's a big pitfall I think that a lot of
No,
companies have, because they're like, yeah, well, this is the end outcome that we need, but okay, well, how are you doing it now? Oh, well, it's just kind of a mess.
well, yeah. So we're going to buy this magic product that's going to solve all our problems. Sure, it will. Yeah, I've seen how this ends.
Right.
No,
Right. Yeah. It's uh, the whole continual, improvement idea is amazing, but it's kind of, you're never going to be perfect, and I think that's what a lot of people miss out on is, everyone's trying to be perfect, and it's, well, okay, here's what we can do better, and it's just tiny iterations into a bigger goal that should be had, right?
Right. Like
Yeah.
make your iterative improvements and make them quick.
Right.
fail
And
fast.
fail fast. Also succeed fast. Just because
Indeed.
like sometimes there's that temptation to like, if I just wait another week, I'll be able to get the fully baked solution. Right. And it won't be perfect, but it'll be good. Like, you know what? Maybe get there when you get there. And don't be afraid of wasted effort. That's something that I think a lot of companies fall for is like, well, I don't want to waste all that effort. No, get started, right? You do not know what tomorrow's going to bring. You may be confident that you're going to buy that fancy new tool and like that you're going to do everything different. But until like that fancy new tool is in your hands and you've been given the go ahead to spend the 6 months to make it perfect, you may as well start like keep working on things. Make small substantive improvements every day, or at least try to,
Agreed.
and keep looking for those.
Agreed.
I've actually seen fancy new tools become basically unneeded before the check was signed because small substantive improvement eventually negates the need for them. And sometimes pretty quickly.
Agreed.
So yeah. All right. Let's see here. Since this is our New Year's episode, we've done some year in review. Anybody got anything super exciting that they think's going to come up this year, or that you know is coming up in tech?
In tech?
In
Yeah.
tech, I hope there's no more giant breaches or anything like that. Please, no.
I mean, I appreciate your optimism, Scott.
it's everything's gonna keep getting worse. So
No more surprise non-weekend weekends.
yeah,
Yeah,
Chronos.
and everything will keep getting worse until it starts getting better.
No, I don't think
it's
there's
gonna
a second
it's gonna keep
Well,
it's gonna keep getting worse until people start companies start prioritizing patching and just security first.
Yep.
It's
remember
just how it is.
remember the first wave of awful spam? Like completely solvable problem, right? All you had to do was like some really basic stuff and like, hey, turn on SPF records and like really simple things. And once people like cued into it, suddenly spam fell off the radar. Of course, all the like malware and client endpoint protection companies are like, no, you got to have your client endpoint protection. That's going to fix it. Like, it's not going to fix it.
Wait, did you say spam went away? I just wanted to
No.
because it did. Not for me.
I'm saying it.
2006.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Like spam has
There
been
was a
this,
week where spam was pretty low.
Spam
it's
was
this
at
ebb and flow,
all-time low
right?
in 06.
Like
I
It's
know
like
exactly what he's
crypto.
talking about. It's a little bit before your time.
Excuse you. You're
It-
probably right.
but no, it's like looking at a cryptograph.
Sure.
It's a slow rise and then it drops off. It doesn't drop as low as it did at the beginning, but then like slow rise.
It's a
The rise is a
sawtooth
little
pattern.
Yeah. And yeah, is spam getting back there? Yes, because like the deep learning stuff that Google and Microsoft have claimed that they have working on, they haven't invested, like as best I can tell, they haven't invested any money in. So like it's the same tech as what we signed on to 2-3 years ago. Turns out spam vendors totally been working on getting past that stuff.
Yep. So when you're talking about spam, are you only talking about email spam, or are you talking about like when you go to a website and there's just pop up over pop up? What kind of
I mean,
spam?
Does that still happen?
I mean, it depends.
Sure.
It depends on how dark you're going.
Yeah, what sites are you visiting?
So even if you have a great
GameCube
pop-up blocker,
ROMs. Just kidding.
even if you've got a pop-up blocker and like all the anti-ad stuff, there's still stuff that spammers are doing, mostly because they're like twisting the arm of the hosting website. Like, no.
Mhm.
If you want our advertising dollars, you've got to enable this thing for us, right?
Yep.
And so I was talking about email spam, but like website spam, same evolutions, different time frame, but same evolutions. My point is like bad cycles. And right now we're in a deep, dark place, like from a ransomware standpoint.
It's really bad. It's actually scary. Scary bad.
At some point, there'll be actors that have the capability to act with enough oomph that will choose to take note. Like U.S. government's got the capability to curtail a lot of that behavior. They've chosen not to, right? It's not financially lucrative for them for whatever reason, but eventually the impact of the economy will be such that like they get the pressure and they choose to take action. We will not make friends. I mean, not in those countries.
I was gonna say it depends, because most of that I think comes offshore. Which
Yes.
what do you do about that? Do you
I mean,
try to
you
extradite?
can
Right.
You can no. I mean, you can do that. You can try to extradite. Like you could do super Byzantine things like, hey, we detected that you are the source of ransomware, and like land like a couple of, squads of special forces on your doorstep. Like we can do it.
Yeah, open up.
And FBI nothing. Like, and not even open up, just pop, pop, pop. But like the U.S. would get spanked for it. I don't think that's the right approach.
By who?
The people that cry loudly in the United Nations general meetings, like it's fine. At the end of the day,
do you know any of their names? I sure don't. Nobody else does either.
Right. I mean, these are options that governments
Not saying
have.
we should do those things. I'm just saying
But
that
the
is all
cheaper
kind
thing,
of a joke.
the government. This is the same thing with like spam calls on your cell phone. The government has claimed for years and years and years that they can't do anything about it, as have the carriers. But I
The
guarantee
carriers
you,
could very easily do something.
I
about
guarantee you, if the FBI shows up at Verizon headquarters and requests all of Verizon's computers because they're investigating fraudulent use of a cell phone number, one, they won't actually be able to leave with the computers, but
Well-
Verizon will get it through their thick heads that like, this isn't lucrative for you anymore. So fix it. And then the problem will go away because they absolutely can solve the problem.
Yeah.
And they don't have to charge more for it. If the FBI would like have the cojones to just do it, problem would go away. Right now, the FBI doesn't have the backing. This is true elsewhere. They could also pressure all of the suboceanic cable carriers. You don't let traffic through from Russia or China or any of the locations where these bad states are. If you want to do business in the modern world, don't host ransomware companies. Done. Gone in 3 months. Guaranteed. Like, yeah, there'd still be some in like sub-Saharan Africa, but they're not super effective. I mean, Nigerian letters are still bilking grandmas, but not too many other people.
The Nigerian prince scams are pretty lucrative, though. Come on. I mean, I've even fallen for one. Just kidding.
Yeah. I can't imagine that still works, but it probably still does. Just
does.
because.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
some of the some of the YouTubers who are they basically fight these phishers or spammers or hackers that try to social engineer people. It's still surprisingly. I mean, you can even hear in the background when they're doing, listen to these spam callers trying to get them to buy gift cards from Kmart or Target. Kmart doesn't exist. From Target, you can hear them in the background asking for people's credit card numbers, and it sounds like they're getting it. So people are still falling for it, which is a shame. But I don't know what you do about that. I mean, people are going to be naive at the end of the day.
Yeah, it happens.
It does. I mean, at this point, ransomware is no longer a novel thing, right? And the endpoint protection companies have basically no way to control it. There's so many ways to exploit a person or a system now, that you have to make systemic change. I mean, in my opinion, yeah, maybe we all get super smart, and yeah, maybe we all protect our senior citizens super well. Like, I know the seniors in my life, and that would call me for advice, and I think at least 75% of them are probably pretty safe from the Nigerian letters or whatever particular scam, but like 25% aren't. And I don't think there's anything I can do about that. That's a fair amount of money.
Yeah. No.
And I think I'm doing pretty good with 75% protected. Just saying. Anyway.
More than 25%. Yes,
Katie,
probably.
Katie, I'm saying in my life, 25%.
Yeah,
all right.
she sees a lot of
oh no,
random seniors from the boonies of the state showing up, and yeah, it's
The boonies of the state.
that's the soft underbelly of IT, really. They don't have access to any corporate systems generally. However, but they're the people that make it really profitable for groups to keep in business, because you get a couple of seniors to send you a fax of a blank check, and it's all over.
Right.
And we see that all the time.
Absolutely. All right. So, last bit.
Yep.
Let me get a prediction. One tech, keep it short, and one not for the new year. Brian, go. Give me a prediction. Give me a tech prediction for the new year.
Tech and non-tech.
Mm-hmm.
So, tech prediction. I would like to believe that companies would embrace work from home for knowledge workers as things went forward. Because of my second part of the prediction, the non-tech, I think things are going to normalize in the next 6 months. But as we've already seen, some companies are kind of backtracking on their work from home policies. But I think in general, that is overall a good thing to embrace for most employees. I know I'm more productive working from home. Maybe some aren't, but sometimes you got to deal with things on a case by case basis. Be a manager. Don't just make a blanket policy. Next.
Absolutely. Scott, what do you got?
Tech prediction. Metaverse is going to be an absolute failure. That is my one tech prediction. Nobody wants to use it. Everyone thinks it's funny.
Stupid.
Nobody wants. We've been working remote for the past 2 or 3 years. Nobody wants to meet virtually anymore. We want to see each other and we want to hang out with each other. And then my one not tech prediction is I feel like things are going to get better for everyone because it's been a rough year. It's been a rough year for everyone. A rough 2 years, 3 years maybe for everyone. And I hope things are going to start to get better because if they don't, it's not going to be a fun time. But those are my 2 predictions. And I hope Metaverse does fail because it's terrible. That's it. I'm done.
Zuckerberg should
Sucked.
fail. Chris, what are yours?
All right. So my tech prediction is we're going to see a noticeable growth in adoption of containerization. Like, as much as that's been the buzzword, we're actually going to see people start to use it to the point where it used to be like, oh yeah, I work with virtual systems. Now it's going to be I work with containers, right?
Infrastructure as code.
Well, and like infrastructure as containers.
Right.
I think that's coming this year.
I will apply the same caveat to containerization as I did to virtualization. Do it where it makes sense. Don't do it where it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
Now there's almost nowhere where virtualization doesn't make sense. You need some very specific IO requirements before virtualization doesn't make sense. But at the present moment, containerization doesn't always make sense.
Absolutely.
Don't try and force it into a situation where it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Use it where it makes sense. Absolutely use it where it makes sense.
Having
it
a
will
bunch
make
of
your
on-prem
life
servers
easier.
If
having
you
a bunch of on-prem servers,
Yeah.
good idea, right? No.
I mean,
But if you're just
make...
doing a bunch of microservices, yeah, containerize the shit out of that. Why torture yourself with popping up VMs?
Right.
No.
Correct.
Containerize that.
Yep.
But there are things it absolutely doesn't apply to. Don't try and shoehorn those use cases into a container when it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. And my non-tech prediction, Ariana Grande is going to get pregnant. She's in her mid-20s. She's a good-looking woman. She's successful. I imagine she's having fruitful relationships. I hope she finds somebody she likes well enough to have kids with. And I hope, and Ariana, if you're listening, which I don't think you are, but if you're listening, I'm not saying you have to get pregnant. I'm just saying if that's something that is one of your life goals, I hope this year is a year where you feel comfortable enough to do that.
That's your year.
That's my prediction. Ariana Grande pregnant before the end of the year.
Solid.
So,
Fair
all
enough.
right, gents.
It's
been a pleasure.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Well, it was good talking with you guys.
Thank you for everyone that joined us. Appreciate it. Oh, she is buried,
Excellent. See,
Catherine.
Probability's even higher now.
So,
Fits in with
exactly. Probability just went up.
All right, guys.
But yes, everybody that joined us on the live stream, thank you very much. Everybody that commented or asked a question, or especially the people that actually joined us on the live stream, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully see you about a week from now. We'll be live from Jamaica.
Wait, I'm going to Jamaica?
Yes. No, you're not. Well, I mean, maybe you are. I don't know.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
You guys
anybody
have
can go anytime you want.
Yeah, that's true. It's a free country. Right.
Yes.
You guys
All
have
right.
fun.
Have a
Thank
good
you very
night.
much. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.